For this lesson titled Solver, we're in Workbook Lesson 13, Analyze Data, and we're on Worksheet tab called Solver. Solver is a Microsoft Excel add-in program that you can use for what-if analysis. You use Solver to find an optimal maximum or minimum value for a formula in one cell. So, put simply, you can use Solver to determine the maximum or minimum value of one cell by changing other cells. For example, you could change the amount of your projected shipping budget and see the effect that it has on your projected profit amount. So let me give you an example we have right here on our Solver tab, and I am zoomed into 200% on this worksheet. So here we have a pretty straightforward projected budget for first quarter 2018, and here we have some amounts like all of our cells we already know that we're going to have, or maybe we already had, 250,000 in sales, and we made 15,700 in shipping. And then these are projections we're making. So in February, it's based on January, and March is based on how we did in February to project this forward. And same thing for expenses. We have some actual expenses here and here and here, and these are projected, so they're based on the previous month. And then we have a grand total down here that just says add up all of our gross revenue and then subtract from it the total expenses, and then we get this number here. Well, we want to make some calculations on what are some ways we can meet a goal here of maybe a bigger number. And I'm willing to change several things like what we get for our total sales and total shipping, and even willing to change what maybe our expenses will be. So let's take a look at that add-in. So if you go to your Data tab, you probably will see that you do not have Solver. It's listed right here just to the right of your outline group. So the first thing we're going to have to do is add that add-in. Now it comes free with Excel 2016 and Excel 365 version, but you may need to add it. So let's do that. Let's go to File, and we're going to choose Options, and our Options dialog box opens up. We go to the Add-ins section, and then we're going to go down here to the very bottom, Manage Excel Add-ins, and we're going to say Go. And let me bring this over here, our Add-ins dialog box, and we have Solver Add-in. We just put a check mark by that and click OK. And then now we have a new group called Analyze, and inside of that is our Solver command. Solver, what-if analysis tool that finds the optimal value of a target cell by changing values in the cell used to calculate the target cell. Well, let's make that a little more simple. Let's just click here for an example. Here's the total. We've decided that we'd like to know what do we need to change in order to get up to 700,000. So we're going to click on Solver. And Solver is just going to ask us a few questions. Set the objective. Well, that's the objective cell, so I'll make sure that's selected and click right here to get the address. So here's our objective. Now we want to know, are we looking for a max or minimum? No, we're looking for a specific value. We'd like that to be 700,000. 700, 1, 2, 3. Next it says, by changing variable cells. So what cells are you willing to change? Well, let's come over here. I'm going to select that first and say I'm willing to change this cell here. And I'm going to hold down my control key and say, and I'm willing to change shipping. And with my control key down, I'm also willing to change maybe some of these other expenses. So you can see here I have 3 different addresses, and they are separated by commas, and I was able to just use my control key to select several different addresses. Otherwise, you'd have to put in the address, put comma, the new address, comma, new address. Well, we also are going to give it some restraints. We don't want to just change these to any number. It might change it to some, outrageous number that we really couldn't do. So I need to give it some constraints. So under Subject to Constraints, I'm going to click Add. Now it's saying, okay, what's the cell reference that you want to constrain? Well, here's the first one. It's all of our cells. I'm willing to go a little bit higher here. I'm willing to be a little optimistic. So I'm going to say I'm willing to go up to 275,000. And let's take a look at here. So here's the cell reference. This can be lesser or equal to 275,000. In other words, it can't go over 275,000. That's the highest it can go. Or it could be any number lower than that. I'll say OK. And let's add another constraint. And on this one, we'll come over here to our shipping. And this is money we're making. So it's going to be less than or equal to. So what's the maximum I think I might be able to get to is maybe 16,000. 16,000. So it can be lesser or equal than 16,000. I'll say OK. And one more constraint. Over here on our other, on expenses. In this case, I'm going to change this to say greater or equal than. I'm willing to say that this might get as low as 900. So it's greater than or equal to 900. And say OK. And now we can just simply click OK and see what it can find out. Now you might want to copy these numbers down before you begin Solver so you can see what the original numbers were before it finds a solution for you. But we're going to go ahead and click Solve over here. Now take a look here. It said Solver cannot find a feasible solution. But if you look down here, look how close we got. 699,000, right? Just within a few dollars of reaching our goal, which might be plenty close enough. So always take a look down here, even though it may say it couldn't find a feasible one, to look down here. Because we have so many variables and because the way we just barely changed them, but yet we made our goal considerably higher, you might have to try a few times to get it because we have so many variables. So Solver is a very powerful tool, and it can do a lot more than GoalSeek because it can deal with a lot more variables. But you're more likely to get an answer that says it could not find a feasible solution. But that's okay. Typically, it will get you very close.